Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Abide in Me challenge. If you've got any better names for it, let me know because I'd always be interested to hear other fun names about what this is all about. But we are diving into Matthew 23 tonight, and a little later, we did a Zoom youth group hangout time and had a great time hanging out with some of the students and checking in to see how life's going for them. And then, excuse me, they let me test run a game on Zoom, which worked out pretty nicely, and had a lot of fun and told a bunch of corny jokes. So it was a good night. But tonight, we talk about Matthew 23 real fast. And the thing with Matthew 23 is basically Jesus puts the Pharisees and all the teachers of the law on blast. Yeah, you heard me right. He just like totally destroys them. So they've been trying to destroy Jesus this whole time, and Jesus passed every test. He does everything. He speaks in eloquent form and just is authentic and real. And then the Pharisees are in this back and forth battle. You know, it's like round 12. Here we go, and Jesus just basically throws the knockout punch right here, and just but not in a bad way, just in a way that says like you aren't who you claim to be, and so like quit doing that, and people look out for this. But what I want to share is three quick things that jumped out to me. And it's in the very beginning of 23 where Jesus is talking to the crowd and talking about the scribes and the Pharisees. And he says this. He says, what they teach about the law, like, yes, that, I mean, we should abide by that. But don't do the works that they do because they don't practice what they preach. And basically that's what Jesus says. He says, for they preach but do not practice. So like, they're not walking the walk. All they're doing is talking, but they're not walking anything. And Jesus basically just says that like everything that you guys teach and share and all that you're doing the opposite. You're leading people in the wrong direction, and you're just doing things that are not what God is asking of you. You are valuing possessions, and you're valuing notoriety, and you're valuing people seeing you and having this aura of respect over you, and all this stuff that like goes away after a while. Like Jesus is saying, like, this is what you hold on to more than anything. And he's saying that's just not how it should be. And people do not follow this because they are just becoming the biggest hypocrites you can be. You know, he says that basically you are leading people down the path towards hell, and that is going to be on you. And the other thing he says is he says they do all their deeds to be seen by others. And today, like, everybody wants to be famous, right? Everybody wants to be known. Everybody wants to have the crowds come to see them. Like, everybody wants to be a superstar, and I'm sure everybody doesn't, but there's so many people who want this and will do anything for fame and notoriety and the respect of just a huge community and all of this stuff. And Jesus is saying to these teachers of the law, he's saying, you want everybody to see you and know you by what you've done, and so you make everything a big deal, right? You value all of these things where people are coming to you and looking up to you and all, and that's what you value, instead of valuing what I'm teaching and valuing what God is really wanting you to do with the people. And he continues to just do this and share with them why they're doing this. But he says that you are too pride and you are not humble. And everything is about you. And I think we all need to hear that. Like, it's not about the crowds, and it's not about like the notoriety, and it's not about like whatever our motivation to do something, it shouldn't be that. And especially today, like, humility is not something that's really seen as a great feature of somebody, and yet it is so important, and Jesus asks for us to be humble and show this humility time and time again. The last piece I wanted to speak on is later in the chapter. It's in verse 24, and it just says, you blind guides. You blind guides. And I was thinking about it, and I don't want to be a blind guide. A guide is someone who's supposed to lead you down the right path, right? A guide is somebody who walks with you to show you the right way. And we're all guides to people in our lives. We all are. It's not just me as a youth minister, but it's all of us. But a blind guide, think about that for a second. Like if you're hiking on the mountain and you have a guide and your guide is blind, how trusting are you going to be of that guide, right? But maybe you don't know he's blind or she's blind. And so all of a sudden you're on a ledge and the guide is leading you towards something that you know doesn't seem right, but you're just following because they're the guide. And so you follow and realize that like you're in a really tough predicament now because of where the guide has led you. None of us want to follow a blind guide. None of us should want to be a blind guide. But we have to, like we said a couple of nights ago, is we have to get out of the way of ourselves and not make us the center of everything. Because these Pharisees and Sadducees and everybody, all these teachers of the law, everything was about them and what people saw about them. And so they were full of greed and full of of envy and all these things that Jesus just compares them to plates that are so dirty, or whitewashed tombs where it looks nice on the outside, but on the inside it's dead and it's decaying and it's disgusting. You know, are we living two lives? Are we living the outward life of like everything's great and it's fine, and inside we feel like everything's falling apart and everything's dying inside and we don't know what to do? First thing we should do is be our authentic selves. Not worry what everybody else is going to say or what everybody else is going to do about who you are, but just be you. And then we can work with the rest. Because that's where Jesus meets us, is where we are and who we are. Not becoming something that we're not. Or with these guys, it was wanting all of the publicity or the notoriety or the popularity. They wanted all of that. And so they sacrificed everything else for it when they were supposed to be guiding the people in the right ways. And if we claim to be Christians, we should be guiding people in the right ways as well. We are guides to others, other Christians in our lives and other non-Christians in our lives. I think this is a big challenge to us to say, how are we living out the call that God has placed on our lives? Are we being faithful with it and having humility in what we're doing? Or are we trying to show off things and really trying to seek these temporary things and sacrificing so much for them? It's something important for us to think about as Jesus just continued to just say, woe to you, teachers of the law, woe to you. I mean, that's just what I hope that we can kind of take this to heart, this chapter. I mean, the whole chapter is spent of Jesus just putting the teachers on blast and then lamenting of Jerusalem too. And so I hope we can just hold that with what Jesus says and put it to ourselves and say, hey, what does it look like for me? Am I doing any of these things? And if I am, how do I reflect on this and change? So that's what I got out of this week. We hope that you can get something out of chapter 23 too. It's a lot, and Jesus is talking most of the time. So it's good words to hear. But we thank you for joining us. Tomorrow will be chapter 24. Love for you to kind of connect with us again. Put any comments down about what you're getting out of it, or just from us, or from what you're reading in Scripture and the words that are coming out to you. We'd love to hear about that. So thanks a lot, guys, and we hope you will join us next time.